Hi Scott. So the first thing that I do when I open the document in Word is I just run a quick accessibility checker. And in Word it's under File, Check for Issues, and then Check Accessibility. And this will tell you right away what are the major issues, and yours actually doesn't look too bad. The unstructured document is letting you know that they're not headings applied. And headings are these bars right up here at the top, and you can see as I'm going over there changing, now that's just aesthetics. What headings allows is for students who are using a screen reader to be able to see these different levels that you've created visually. So visually, to make this information stand out, you've added it as bold and set it apart. Students using screen readers, of course, are visually impaired or all blind, or completely blind, and won't be able to see this. So we easily just apply those styles. So I'm in the home menu right here, and I see these styles pop up right here. And you can see more of them right there by clicking that down. I like to see all of mine because you can see right here I just have heading 1 and heading 3, and that's not really going to do it for me. So I just click on this arrow on the right hand side and it brings up all of my headings right here. Actually, it's not all of them. So to get all of them, I click on this little optional button right there. And another menu pops up, drop down, and then all style. And then I choose new documents because I want it to remember what I'm using. Okay. Now you can see right here I have a lot more options, and I'm just going to click it and drag it and move it over here. And just drag it and make it a little bit bigger so that it's easier to work with. And scroll it down because I'm mainly going to use these heading styles right here. So you see right here when I click on this, you have it bolded, but this heading up here, which would let a screen reader know that it's different or set apart, isn't highlighted. So when you are creating a heading structure, you want to think of it as an outline. So what you do when you create an outline for your syllabus or for any documents, you want to recreate that in the heading structure. So right here is most likely going to be your heading 1. And it does, if it changes the font, you can actually make it so that the font and everything is what you would want it to be. So I'm going to undo this, and I'm just going to check, and you like Times New Roman, so we can easily make that so that it defaults to a Times New Roman. So I hit Modify, Formatting. I'm just going to keep this at Times New Roman. I always want my heading 1s to be at 18-point font, and then OK. I'm going to do this with heading 2 real quick just so it doesn't change it. I clicked on that, modify heading 2. I want it to be Times New Roman, and I want my heading 2s to be 14-point font. Or let's do 16-point font. You can always change these, and I don't need it to be blue, I still want it to be black. And then my heading 3, modify. I'm going to change this to Times New Roman. I want it to be 14. And automatic. Oh, let's check that. All right. So now when I click on heading 1, I still want it to be centered, so centered. It still has that structure. Now here is where you have to start making some big decisions. Do you want this information to also be heading 1? It's not recommended because this information is not as important as this information right here. So I would personally just keep this as it is right here. Screen reader will read it no problem. You have it as single lines. But what I would do is actually put this down below, and now you're creating a heading 2. You have your course description right there. So I have my heading 2. Now you can change it if you decide I don't like that size, I want it to be bold. None of this will affect what the screen reader says as long as it's heading 2 right here. You can change the aesthetics or what it looks like. Now here's where again you have to start making decisions. Are my student learning outcomes one heading level below? So would it be heading 2 or heading 3? I think student learning outcomes is one level below, so I put heading level 3. Again, you can choose if you want to have that bolded or not bolded. It doesn't matter as long as you have that style still set up. Learning objectives, header 3. Now here is where on the numbering we want it to let a screen reader know that this is a numbered document. So I'm going to take and I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to go back over here in the styles and I'm going to choose list number. So when I click on that, it put those numbers in there. I'm just going to delete the numbers that you had put in there. And so this is keeping that structure that you want aesthetically, but it's also letting students know that are blind that you have a numbered document right here. One thing for universal design principles to think through is many students who see a numbered list think that it is the order in which you complete the information. So I would do 1 before I do 2, before I do 3. So what I would recommend doing, instead of doing a numbered list for items that don't have to be completed in a specific order, is just do a simple bulleted list. Required text and materials. I would move this back up to header 2. Then I'm just going to put this down, important note, and I'm going to put that as a header 3. Now you see that it got rid of the underlines. I strongly encourage instructors not to use any underlining in their syllabus. You think about what we've associated underlined documents or underlined words with is that they're a hyperlink. So for students it can be frustrating when they see an underline in a digital format and they'll just start clicking on it thinking that it's a link and then it'll be broken. So same thing right here. I highlight that. I'm going to make that a heading 3. Now here's where you can start thinking, all right, is this a heading 3? Is it going to, do I want this to stand out to students? To me, one thing to think through is that if you've chosen to make it bolded for sighted students, then you want it to stand out somehow. So you need to give that same importance to non-sighted students. So I'm going to highlight it, and you see I don't have a heading 4 option up here. So I'm just going to scroll up and find my heading 4. Now again, I didn't set this on the style, so if I want to set it, I can modify and change it. I don't need this blue, I want it black, and I still want my same font size. And I can change it. Same thing right here. So I'm just going to highlight these bullet points and make sure that I have it applied in the style formatting. Academic integrity. Is that at the same level? Oops, let me bold that for you. Is that at the same level as that? So you have to think through that. If it is, then it would be a heading 4. You see it's up there in my style. Same thing. I'm going to highlight this, create a list bullet. Now I'm going to undo because I can't remember. So you had those 3 as... So I'm just going to highlight those again and pull it. And you see how it moves in. So again, I'm just guessing on the structure of your document. Do you want sexual harassment to be at the same level as academic integrity? 4. If not, you can always put it back to a heading level 3. I'm going to put it as a heading level 3. And if you think about it, when you're going through the structure of your course, anything under heading level 2, I think this 3 would be under this structure. So if you're thinking, well, American with Disabilities Act shouldn't be under required text material because this is a heading 2, then you would switch this over to do a heading 2 right there. And bold it. Same thing for heading 2. But maybe this is the heading 3 because it's underneath the subheading of zero tolerance for disruptive students. Same thing as this disclaimer underneath the sexual harassment. Do header 3. What you're trying to do is create that outline flow to your document. Help. It's header 2. It's not underneath these up here. It's its own subheading. Course changes. Heading 2. Course requirements. Heading 2. And again, you want to use your style to create your list number. There we go, list number. You see right here now, it doesn't change what you've chosen, but it's just applying that so screen readers knows you're doing a list number. So this actually, so we can do course requirements. You have that as a 2. If you want to make your points a 3, and that's under course requirements, or a 2, totally up to you. I'll put under 3 for now. How you have it set up right here is great. Very easy for a screen reader to read. It's not going to like these spaces right here. If you look at these repeated characters, it doesn't like when we manually put in spaces. But this right here is okay if you don't have an excess amount of them. You think about when you putting together a document, a screen reader is going to read left to right. So you have this very simple, it's not in a table, which is great. So it'll say participation, 10 points. Movie assignment, 15 points. Midterm. So it's set up very good. And you want your grade scale, you can have it as a heading 4. If it's underneath this, again, that's a personal preference as long as it's flowing in structure. Attendance and tardiness. Let's see, what did you have your course policies under? So you're starting, you have course requirements, that was a heading 2. So this is starting another course policies. And this might be underneath that. So I'm going to put this under here just so we can give this a heading 2. You see how you get rid of the outline. Week 2. So you have this set up very easy to read, but it gets rid of that underline and giving it that structure. Oops. Week 3. Week 3. Or heading 3. Very easy just going through. It's just time consuming once you get into a groove. And I'm just going to actually eliminate those spaces. And just one so that it doesn't bother a screen reader. Seeing we have an unclear hyperlink. So when we are creating hyperlinks in a document, we want the screen reader to not have to read this entire thing, because the student will search the page for links, and the screen reader will read the entire link HTTP and go all the way through that. What we want is for the link to, the words to describe where the link is going. So I'm actually going to cut this, so I highlight it, cut it, and I want to put this link behind this DSPS. So I highlight the DSPS, choose Insert, and then choose this hyperlink. And you see here's the text to display, and insert right that, and then OK. So now for a screen reader, it's going to tell them that this link is for the DSPS office, and it's right there. And now all you have is these repeated characters. It's not major, but it can be annoying for a screen reader, so whenever possible, just get rid of them.